So today, as you can tell by the title of the video, we are going to be talking about my mom. Today is actually my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. I never really sat down on here and talked about her. I mean, if you're following me on social media, you obviously know that she is no longer with us, but I never really sat down and talked about what happened. This is probably going to be one of the hardest videos I've ever done, put out. I'm driving because my car is probably one of the places where I actually, think a lot, and it's kind of my safe place. I don't really, share my emotions well. I like to keep everything bottled up and bottled in. So let's start from the beginning. So my mom had me at age 26, so she was fairly young. She was still in the partying age, she still wanted to live her 20s and the whole 9 yards. I was left at my memes a lot because of it. So, days would turn into weekends, would turn into weeks, so I just stayed at my meme's house. And I never really had a relationship with my mom. I knew that she was my mom, and I knew my mem was my mem, but I really didn't know my mom. I only knew of her. She would pop in and out, in gatherings and stuff like that, but it was never really, a sit down and conversate and get to know each other. The summer after 5th grade was when I really started building a relationship with my mom. I was spending most of my time, most of that summer at my mom's house, going to the beach or going to this place or going to that place, and it was really, fun, and I was enjoying getting to know my mom, finally. I decided that summer that I was going to move in with my mom. Life completely did a 360 in the aspect of just how my mem lived compared to my mom lived. Just their style of raising me. So at my mem's house, there was chores. Obviously in every house there's a chore, but my mem really didn't enforce it. It was kind of just like if you want to do this, you can do this, but I'm not going to scold you if you don't. Where at my mom's house, it was, you better be getting the shit done. At the time of me, I was a child still, so, I was aggravated. I went through an attitude adjustment going from my mem's to my mom's. But looking back at it now, it's a lesson to be learned. You can't have everything handed to you. You can't have everything done to you. If you want something done, you got to go out and do it. The major key point to this whole story is that my mom had breast cancer. And my mom had breast cancer when I was younger, but she beat it. And it came back, stage 4. And stage 4 of any cancer is a battle, and it's hard, and it knocks your being down. And that was probably one of the hardest things I had to, watch, was my mom go from the strong woman one week, and then the next week after chemo, she was down and she could barely get up out of bed and cook and, go to the bathroom. She could barely stay up, and it was a lot to, see your mom, the strong figure in your life, your single mom, go from, strength and endurance and all this, and then just to plummet. That was hard. If you guys ever known somebody with cancer, you watch TV and you see cancer patients, you know that they lose their hair. So I never really knew my mom with hair because she was fighting cancer her whole life. So when she finally stopped having chemo one time in her treatment, her hair started growing back, and it was so bushy and so curly, and I was just like, what is this woman? Who is she? And I didn't like it. I rathered my mom without hair, to be honest. When you have cancer and you have no hair, you have hair. It's like little bits of hair, but you can't grow full-length hair. So we always called her head peach fuzz because we always used to rub it, and it used to be so soft and all that. And I don't know. The summer after 7th grade was the hardest summer. The end of summer, actually, the last week of August, she was in and out of the hospital. I mean, it was come and going for her. She would go into the hospital one day, get out the next day, go back in the next day, and it was just a lot. And you could see that it was a lot mentally on her, more so than everything else. And on August 31st, she was in the emergency room, in the room, not in the waiting room. And my grandmother had walked in, and and I was outside in the hall, like outside of the door. And she turned to my grandmother and she said, "How long do I have to fight?" You know, back then I was only in 7th grade, so when she said that, it registered like subconsciously, but in the forefront of it all, it really didn't. And I didn't know how to react to it. But I knew. I knew what it meant. And on the first, I walked into the room and saw she was all hooked up to cables and she could barely speak. And I left. And my grandmother comes out to the hall and says that Mom wants to see me. And I refused to go back in because I refused to see her like that. And when I did, I hugged her and she mumbled something. Probably "I love you." And then she moved. The thing that really got me was she had the strength to keep fighting until I said goodbye. You know, the month of May is probably one of the hardest months out of the year besides Christmas, because everybody that meant so much to me is gone. And all their birthdays are this month. There's Mother's Day, there's my mom's birthday, there's my Pep's birthday, there's my Mem's birthday. The 3 most important people in my life are no longer here. My mom used to say something, and it's something I live by every day. It is what it is. And I try to live by that. She used to say that whenever, you know, something that she couldn't handle was wrong, she would say, "It is what it is. What are you gonna do? You have to live life." I remember one time, and this shows so much strength, was she was going into a very important appointment in Boston that had to deal with her, you know, finally getting rid of this thing. And she went into the appointment, and the doctor said that the cancer had spread to her brain. And that was the one thing that needed to go right, was it not to be in her brain. And it did. And she couldn't have that procedure. And she walked out of the office so strong. My mom was literally in tears. And my mom walks out and says, "It is what it is." You know, I think one of the hardest things I do every year is go see her grave. Because then it's real. There's no hiding from it. There's no denying it. I hate this shit. I mean, I get